There is a plant growing in vacant lots, roadsides, and backyard gardens across America right now. Farmers spend millions of dollars every year trying to kill it. They spray it with Roundup and it survives. They pull it out and it comes back. It has developed resistance to almost every herbicide the agricultural industry throws at it, and almost nobody in America knows you can eat it. The same plant that Whole Foods sells for $40 a bag. The same plant that ancient civilizations considered sacred food. The same plant that one empire tried to erase from the face of the earth 500 years ago. It is growing wild in your neighborhood right now, for free. And this is the story of how that happened. The plant is called Amaranth, and before we go any further, you need to understand what the Aztec civilization actually was. We are not talking about a small tribe. At its height, the Aztec Empire controlled central Mexico with a population of between 5 and 15 million people. They built aqueducts, causeways, floating gardens, and a capital city called Tenochtitlan that was larger than any city in Europe at the time. When Spanish explorers first saw it, they could not believe what they were looking at. And this civilization ran on amaranth. Archaeological records show that amaranth represented up to 80% of the Aztec caloric intake before the Spanish arrived. It was not a side dish. It was not a supplement. It was the foundation of one of the most powerful empires in the Western Hemisphere. The Aztecs called it huautli. They paid it as tribute. They stored it in massive granaries. They popped the seeds like popcorn and mixed them with honey to make offerings during ceremonies. Every level of Aztec society, from farmers to warriors to emperors, was sustained by this single plant. Now here is where the story gets deliberately buried. In 1521, Hernán Cortés and the Spanish conquistadors defeated the Aztec Empire, and what followed was not just military conquest, it was systematic cultural destruction. The Spanish banned the practice of Aztec religion. They tore down temples and built churches on top of them. They forced mass conversion to Christianity, and then they banned amaranth. Not because it was dangerous, not because it was poisonous, because the Aztecs had used it in religious ceremonies. They had shaped statues of their gods from amaranth seeds and honey and eaten them as acts of worship. The Spanish saw this as a threat to Christianity and decided the plant itself had to go. They burned the fields. Every amaranth crop they could find was destroyed, and according to historical records, cultivators who were caught growing it faced having their hands cut off. Think about what that means. A colonial power looked at the primary food source of 15 million people, decided it was too spiritually dangerous to allow, and made growing it a crime punishable by mutilation. This was not a side effect of conquest. It was a deliberate strategy to break the food sovereignty and cultural identity of an entire civilization at the same time. But amaranth did not die, because amaranth is not a plant that gives up easily. One single amaranth plant produces up to 100,000 seeds. Those seeds are so small and so numerous that no burning campaign could ever catch them all. Indigenous farmers in remote mountain valleys continued growing it quietly, secretly, passing seeds through family lines and trusted neighbors. They kept the knowledge alive through generations of colonial rule, through centuries of suppression, through every attempt to make this plant disappear. The Berkeley Food Institute documented this survival directly. A horticulturist at the UC Botanical Garden put it plainly. The fact that amaranth still exists, she said, and people are still popping it and eating it, is revolutionary. It is a direct result of indigenous seed savers who refused to let it go. While the Spanish were trying to erase it, amaranth was quietly walking across the continent on its own. The seeds spread naturally. Birds carried them, wind spread them, trade routes moved them. By the time modern agriculture arrived in America, amaranth was already growing wild in fields from California to North Carolina. Farmers started calling it pigweed because it grew wherever hogs were kept. They treated it as a pest. They declared war on it, and the plant kept winning. Today, Palmer amaranth, one of the wild species native to North America, is classified as one of the most aggressive weeds in American agriculture. It has developed resistance to glyphosate, the most widely used herbicide in the world. It has developed resistance to multiple other herbicide classes. In 2014, North Dakota State University named it Weed of the Year. In 2015, it won again. Kansas State University researchers found populations in 2019 that had developed resistance to yet another class of herbicides, leaving farmers with almost no chemical options left. The agricultural industry is spending enormous resources trying to kill a plant that an ancient civilization considered sacred food. And almost nobody has stopped to ask whether the problem is the classification. Here is what the science says about what you're looking at when you see pigweed growing in a vacant lot. Amaranth seeds contain between 13 and 14% protein by weight. That is higher than rice, higher than sorghum, higher than rye. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, which is something almost no plant food can claim. It is one of the very few plant sources of complete protein on Earth. A single cooked cup of amaranth grain provides nearly 30% of your daily iron requirement. It contains more calcium than virtually any other grain. It is rich in magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, and selenium. It is naturally gluten-free. Research published in peer-reviewed journals has shown it may help reduce cholesterol, support blood sugar regulation, and reduce inflammation. The leaves are equally remarkable. Raw and cooked amaranth leaves are a rich source of vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, iron, folate, and potassium. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden noted that the seeds have a higher protein content than rice, sorghum, or rye, and can be easier to digest than soy, wheat, or dairy. This is the plant that American farmers spend millions trying to eradicate every single year. They spray it, they disc it, they pull it. They lose sleep over it, and it grows back anyway, because it was built for exactly this kind of adversity. 500 years of colonial suppression could not stop it. Modern chemical agriculture has not been able to stop it either. Now let us talk about the money. The global amaranth market was valued at over $5 billion in 2024. It is projected to nearly triple in value by 2034. Whole Foods sells amaranth grain for $8 to $12 a pound. Health food brands sell it in capsule form. Wellness influencers promote it as a superfood discovery. The language they use makes it sound like something new, something exotic, something that required years of research to find. It has been growing wild in American fields for centuries, for free. The distance between what amaranth costs to grow and what it costs to buy in a health store is not innovation. It is not science. It is the same pattern that has played out across the history of food. Take something that belonged to communities who could not defend their ownership of it. Suppress the knowledge of where it came from. Wait long enough for that knowledge to fade, then repackage it with clean branding and sell it back at a price that excludes the people who preserved it. The Aztec farmers who risked having their hands cut off to save amaranth seeds in secret mountain valleys did not do it so that a supplement company could charge $40 a bag. They did it because they understood, in a way that industrial agriculture still has not learned, that a civilization's most important infrastructure is its food. Here is how to grow your own. Amaranth is one of the easiest plants you will ever work with. It wants sun, warmth, and reasonably well-drained soil. It does not need fertilizer. It does not need consistent watering once established. It is drought-tolerant, heat-tolerant, and pest-resistant. Buy grain amaranth seeds from any health food store or online seed supplier. Make sure you're getting food-grade, untreated seeds. Varieties like Amaranthus crentus, Amaranthus hypochondriacus, or Amaranthus caudatus are excellent choices for both leaves and grain. Direct sow the seeds into the ground after your last frost date. The seeds are tiny, so scatter them lightly and press them gently into the surface rather than burying them deep. Keep the soil moist for the first 2 weeks while germination happens. Once the seedlings are a few inches tall, thin them to about 18 inches apart. From there, the plant handles itself. It grows fast, sometimes reaching 6 to 9 feet in height. Start harvesting young leaves when the plant is about a foot tall. Cook them exactly like spinach. They have a mild, slightly earthy flavour, and they wilt down significantly when cooked. They are excellent in soups, stir-fries, sautéed with garlic, or blended into sauces. For the grain, wait until the seed heads are fully mature and beginning to dry on the plant, usually in late summer or early fall. Bend the seed head over a bucket and rub or shake the seeds loose. You will be astonished by how many seeds one plant produces. 100,000 seeds per plant is not an exaggeration. A handful of plants can produce enough grain to last months. The seeds can be cooked like rice or quinoa, using a 2-to-1 ratio of water to grain. They can be toasted and eaten as a snack. They can be popped like popcorn in a dry pan over high heat, which is exactly what the Aztecs did in their ceremonies. They can be ground into flour for gluten-free baking, and the plant self-seeds so aggressively that once you grow it once, you will likely never need to buy seeds again. Let a few seed heads mature and drop at the end of the season. Next spring they come back on their own, one planting, potentially forever. The Aztec word for Amaranth huautli does not translate cleanly into English, but the Greek root of the word amaranth itself is amaranthos, which means the one that does not wither, a plant name for its own refusal to die. It survived 500 years of colonial suppression. It survived the most aggressive herbicide campaign in the history of modern agriculture. It is growing right now in the cracks of American cities, in the shoulders of highways, in the corners of fields where billion-dollar corporations are spraying chemicals specifically designed to kill it. And it is still there. Every single year it comes back, 100,000 seeds per plant scattered by wind and birds and the weight of its own abundance, landing in soil that was supposed to be sterile, germinating in conditions that were supposed to be impossible. The Spanish burned the fields and built churches on the land. The Aztec seed savers hid the grain in mountain valleys and waited. And 5 centuries later, the plant is growing wild across the entire continent, while health food companies charge $40 a bag for what your grandmother would have called a weed. The knowledge was always there. The plant was always there. The only thing that was ever buried was the story of where it came from and who it belonged to. Now you know. Go plant some.